What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. All right, check it out, man. We got another one of these situations where the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the creatives over there, they just will not take the L, okay? They just will not come out and admit, yo, we've been dropping the ball. We've been messing things up. We haven't delivered good content. That's what the problem is over there at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The fans see it, the critics see it, everybody else sees it except the people that need to see it to be ordered to fix it, which is Marvel. All right. Marvel needs to see this. Kevin Feige needs to see, yo, we're not making good content. And that's the reason why we've been having all of these problems. But you see right here, Avengers directors say Marvel's recent problems aren't due to superhero fatigue. I agree. It's not about superhero fatigue. It's about bad movie fatigue. We've been saying this. All right. But what do they try to say? They say, oh, it's not superhero fatigue, but a big generational divide about how you consume media. Now, look, I think there is something to the generational divide in terms of going to movies overall, right? I think, yeah, there's some kind of a disconnect between how movies are being made and the kind of content that they're putting in movies versus like how, you know, younger audiences are consuming media in this day and age. Okay, I agree that there is definitely something there, but that has more to do with like the larger Hollywood. That ain't got shit to do with y'all though, all right? That ain't got nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You guys stand outside of all of that, all right? The generational divide of how you consume media is conquered by big event films like Avengers Endgame, like Avengers Infinity War, like Civil War, all these big event movies that people like, yo, I got to go to the movies and watch this. Marvel conquered all of that. So the fact that you come in now, you know, again, 5 years after Avengers Endgame made almost $3 billion, I think, overall, globally. Like, yo, you guys conquered this stuff. You can't come behind and say, well, you know, there's a generational divide. Bullshit, all right? It's bad content. That's it. That's all right? The generational divide came and consumed the hell out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and would have continued to do so if you guys was putting out the kind of content you was putting out in the first 3 phases. That's it. That's all. Just admit that you've dropped the ball and you're not as good as you used to be. All right. Here's the problem. And again, I've said this many, many times. The problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that Kevin Feige is not the genius that y'all thought he was or all these other cats thought that he was. Okay. Including himself and maybe Bob Iger. He is not his formula, all right? The quote-unquote Marvel formula where, oh, I could just go ahead and just grab superhero off the shelf, throw them into my formula. You know, it doesn't matter who the writers are. It doesn't matter who the actors are, whatever. It's my formula. Kevin Feige, I'm the genius, all right? And he thought that this formula, he could just go ahead and churn out movie after movie, TV show after TV show. They were all going to be hits. All right. And what he's discovered is, oh, we actually need good writers. Okay. We actually need good directors. I've made this point several times. The people that are making, if you look at the first few phases, the first phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then you cascade that all the way through phase 3, there were some great filmmakers, great writers writing this stuff. Jon Favreau, Joe Johnston, Kenneth Branagh. You had like some great filmmakers, Joss Whedon, all right, that understand the genre, know how to write this stuff, put it together. Great phase 1. And then when you move into phase 2 and phase 3, and you got guys like James Gunn, all right, doing Guardians of the Galaxy. You got Marcus and McFeely writing the Captain America sagas, all right? And then the Avengers movies. You had great talent behind the scenes putting all of this stuff together. You had Robert Downey Jr., you had Scarlett Johansson, you had a great cast of characters, you had amazing actors and actresses. Like, all of this stuff came together. It wasn't the genius of Kevin Feige's Marvel formula that got the job done. It was great writers, great film. It almost reminds me of the stuff when people talk about George Lucas, all right? And I love George Lucas, but George Lucas it was a combined effort of a lot of great talent that made the original trilogy what it was. It wasn't just George all by himself. And a lot of people say that, well, Kevin Feige, he's the guy. But yeah, it's a lot of other people around it. And Kevin Feige, he thought he could just grab, oh, okay, Nia DaCosta, I can just throw you in there and you're going to be great. You know, I can grab Chloe Zhao. You can come in here and you can make a movie. And it doesn't matter who the writers are. It doesn't matter who the directors are. It doesn't matter who the characters are that we're putting into these films. You know, people are just going to flock to it because it's Marvel. We found out, nope, that's not the case, all right? So, yeah, all of this is just a bunch of hogwash and copium. Let's go ahead and check it out. This is on Variety. The filmmakers Joe and Anthony Russo were responsible for some of Marvel's biggest box office hits, from Captain America Civil War to Avengers Endgame, but they don't necessarily believe superhero fatigue is to blame for the studio's recent struggles. Marvel had a tough 2023 with two flops, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and The Marvels. Speaking recently to Games Radar Plus, the director said the Marvel's current issues boil down to the changes in how people absorb media. It's a Hollywood-wide issue, not just a Marvel one. No, it's not a Marvel issue at all right? It is a Hollywood issue. I agree with this part, all right? Hollywood does have a problem with now trying to compete with video games, with anime, with streaming, with all kind of other things. I've been talking about this a lot recently, that, yeah, Hollywood has that problem. But Marvel has conquered that problem over and then some. Because, again, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we got like a IP that people are absolutely attracted to as long as you do it right. And if you don't do it right, you drop the ball on this IP, people are going to just check out super fast, all right? Oh, yeah, hell no. I got other stuff. Now, I do have other things that I can do. I have other media that I can absorb. Yeah, 100%. But if you were doing your job, Marvel, this wouldn't be an issue, all right? So, lose that bullshit, because that's all the way wrong. I think it's a reflection of the current state of everything. It's difficult right now. It's an interesting time, Joe Russo said. I think we're in a transitional period, and people don't know quite yet how they're going to receive stories moving forward, or what kind of stories they're going to want. Again, I agree with that when it comes to just overall Hollywood. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I said that yesterday. There's a big generational divide about how you consume media, he continued. There's a generation that's used to appointment viewing and going to a theater on a certain date to see something, but it's aging out. Meanwhile, the new generation I want it now, I want to process it now, then moving on to the next thing, which they process while doing two other things at the same time. He's talking about basically people, going on their phones, watching movies on their phones, watching content like YouTube on their phones while they're in the midst of doing other things. Yeah, again, all of that is true. But if you drop a banger like Infinity War and you've built up to it and everybody's excited about it, man, I can't wait to see Infinity War, man. It's going to be awesome. Holy crap, man. Give me all the different theories and everything like that. If you have that going, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be able to rake in at least $1 billion in the box office, if not more, as Marvel proved. But if you decide that you want to push ideology into your content, if you decide that you want to go full MCU, it's all about the ideology, the agenda, the message. That's what's important right now. We got to go in that direction. And on top of that, then to layer on top of that, you went into the multiverse, which is a super confusing thing to like most average normies. Like, they're not checking for the multiverse. Comic nerds and geeks, we all about that life. But you ask somebody to understand the multiverse, all right, man, here's how this multiverse works. And then you start trying to string all of this shit together, man, people gonna be like, man, I'm out. Okay, I'm not dealing with all of that. And I'm not really checking for this entertainment that's pushing an agenda. And like I've said, you put agenda at the top, you put multiverse bullshit at the second, and then entertainment comes underneath all of that. That's what happens when you think your formula is a winning formula and you can do any old thing you want to. Oh, I can just whatever, And then next thing you know, here we go. We got the, phases 4 and 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a very different moment in time than it's ever been. And so I think everyone, including Marvel, is experiencing the same thing, this transition. And I think that really is probably what's at play more than anything else. And you know what? I got a problem with this, man. I got a big problem with him blaming it on this transition. Because the transition is what? What is the transition? People are consuming media differently. People want media from different spots. And they're getting it from, video games. They're getting it from anime. They're getting it from streaming. They're getting it from multiple different spots. And they're saying, well, that's the problem. The competition that's out there is a problem. The fact that we don't have this captive audience, that we've had, movies, that's where you go to get the big time entertainment content. Now we're competing with, like high scale, well produced television shows too, right? Like a Game of Thrones type show that's well produced. We're competing with stuff like that. All right. And they were still competing with that back in the early phases, and they were doing just fine, which is why I say this isn't the real reason. But it sounds like he's blaming it on that, right? This transition. The transition is just simply more competition. So don't blame the competition because y'all fucking up. All right. Because you guys have dropped the ball on a giant IP, the biggest IP ever. All right. In terms of, like film and entertainment. in terms of box office. You guys have dropped the ball on that. Do not blame the transition for that. Blame yourselves. Because, yeah, you had a captive audience, but the captive audience was going to check out anyway. If the content was still good, they would still be there. So, yeah, this is just a whole lot of copium and a whole lot of bullshit, if you ask me. Joe Russo noted that the new generation of moviegoers communicates largely through memes and headlines with nobody reading past 2 sentences and everything's 100 characters or less, or 10-second videos on social media. You swipe through that. It was the exact same thing during the first 3 phases. It hasn't changed that much in 5 years. It's the exact same thing. No, it's the content, bro. I think the 2-hour format, the structure that goes into making a movie, it's over a century old now, and everything always transitions. Again, man, this is copium, hardcore copium. All right, 2-hour movies has been going along for a while now, and it's still popular. Look, how come Barbie made a billy? How come Super Mario Brothers made a billy? All right, that was last year, 2023. When 2 Marvel films flopped on their asses. Both of those films didn't combine to $1 billion. All right? 2 Marvel films flopped on their asses. The only one that did anything was Guardians. And that's because what? Oh, it's a good movie. I mean, come on, man. Guys got to knock that crap off. So there is something happening again, and that form is repetitive, but it's hard to reinvent that form. And I think this next generation is looking for ways to tell their own stories that service their own sort of collective ADHD. Wow, man. I mean, these guys are just full of the cope, man. It is you trying to blame it on everything else but themselves. Make better movies. Why is it that Guardians of the Galaxy did well? Made its money back, all right? Did just fine. How come Guardians of the Galaxy did better than the Marvels plus Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Why? Ask yourself that. It has nothing to do with, it's transitions. People went out and watched it. When I went and saw it, it was a packed house. Anthony Russo says superhero fatigue has nothing to do with superheroes. It's just fatigue. And it's bad movie fatigue, okay? Bad movies. The superhero fatigue question was around long before the work we were doing, Anthony continued. So it's sort of an internal complaint, like we always used to cite this back in our early days with superhero work. People used to complain about Westerns in the same way, but they lasted for decades and decades and decades. How long has superhero movies been around? Like really this era of superheroes? It's only like maybe 2 decades. Like maybe, 25 years. That's it. And so, yeah, Westerns lasted forever. And because they were, again, putting content out there that people wanted to watch, and it was well made, and that's why the Westerns lasted as long as they did. Now, eventually, all good things come to an end. So I'm not saying that superhero stuff will always be popular, but I mean, even good Westerns will still, catch some heat and catch some burn, and people will still go out and watch a good, well-made Western if the story is good. So yeah, all of these guys, they said they were continually reinvented and brought to new heights as they went on. Yeah, all of that is true. But look, all of these cats, man, it's just pure copium. They don't want to admit the truth that it's them that's dropped the ball. They have wrecked their own, superhero genre to the point now, well, yeah, there probably is a little fatigue setting in because a lot of people are just tired of it, man. Like, yo, man, Madam Web comes out, right? We got this, Craven the Hunter movie. That's getting kicked back. People are kind of tired of that crap. Make good movies and you don't have any of this shit to worry about. You don't have to worry about the transition. If the movie is great, again, greater Hollywood has that problem, but a giant IP like Marvel should never have that problem. As evidenced, again, when you look at Barbie, you look at Super Mario Brothers, and some of the other big hits that have been coming out in the last couple of years, all right? They didn't have that issue, all right? But anyway, folks, I just find this copium just absolutely hilarious, man. These guys are just full of it, man, because they don't want to just admit that they dropped the ball. Marvel dropped the ball. Not the Russo brothers necessarily. Russo brothers did their job. But Kevin Feige, I guess they got to come to his aid, right? They got to come to his defense. Kevin Feige is not the genius y'all think he is, all right? He got lucky on them first 3 phases, and he had good filmmakers. He had great, actors and actresses about that life, and they did it, all right? But now, it's not your formula, bro. You got to go back to the original design, which is get good filmmakers, get good screenwriters, write good content, make good movies, and then you'll just be fine. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think. Jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.